Welcome to The Yin Project. I'm your host, Emily Bevan. Today we are talking with Nicole Cronin. She is a yoga teacher, co-owner of The Pad in San Francisco, along with a mother and leadership and embodiment teacher. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Emily.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much for coming on. So your work as a yoga teacher feels so much more than just a job. It feels like a true calling for you. Mm-hmm. I know you personally. I've been on one of your amazing yoga retreats. It feels like you were meant to do this work. Can you walk us through how you got to be a yoga instructor?
Yeah, I found the practice in San Francisco when I was operating a very vibrant, busy and crazy restaurant bar in 2007. And then my practice was individually really, really strong, and I was very committed. I had no desire to become a yoga teacher. I was working full-time in the restaurant industry. I became an owner of a restaurant, a partner at the age of 25, and that was exciting.
Wow.
But
was that in North Beach?
It was in the Marina district of San Francisco.
Yeah.
But in 2012, when I was in a car accident with my fiance in Bangkok, Thailand, where he passed and I broke my back because, many things happened, but being in Bangkok, Thailand and having the initiation into the realm of we are not our bodies. We are souls here to evolve and learn and grow and love more and be more accepting and more courageous. When I got home from a few weeks in Bangkok, Thailand, he was cremated in Bangkok, Thailand. And when I got home to San Francisco, it was a very conscious choice to either take the path of suffering and why me and why did this happen, or really, really spread the love and the light that I also experienced in his passing. He was tangibly, viscerally all around me. His spirit carried me in so many ways. I took a deep dive into, the Tibetan book of death and dying, and
it's a fantastic book.
A lot of meditation, psychics, mediums, channelers, past life regression, people that channeled messages from him to me. And the message really was like, live a big life, like be more loving, more beautiful, more giving, more expansive. And I had my sacrum screwed together. When I got home, it was shattered in 3 places, and with those screws.
And you were in a wheelchair.
I was in a wheelchair.
For how long were you in a wheelchair?
A couple months in a wheelchair, and then on crutches, and then still pain. But when I got the screws out of my back, I was able to then jog, and it was the screws also that were causing some pain.
Do you feel like because you were so young that really aided in your recovery? You were about 25 at this point?
No, I was 31.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had just bought a house together, had a wedding planned, engagement party, ring, dress, all the things. So I went that same year and I did my teacher training at a place called The Present Moment in Troncones Beach, Mexico, which in November of 2012 is when I got my first 200-hour yoga teacher training certificate. And
so
I'm actually
the same year that he passed away. Wow. That's amazing that you were able to recover so beautifully.
But I came back from that training with a fire in my belly to teach yoga, to teach, I think my greatest teachers say you can only teach from direct experience and teach what you have learned and pass it on, hand it on to others, ignite that fire in others. And it was really the gift of this life, wake up to the gift of this life. Live more bright, more loving, more compassionate, a bigger life, be courageous in the time that we do have here in these human bodies. So so the gift of yoga comes from that place in me of knowing that this life isn't promised to you. It really is a gift.
Yes. So, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So recently you are now the co-owner of the Pad, which is a very popular studio. Tell us about how that kind of came to be, just like really from a business perspective.
Sure. So in 2009, when the Pad opened, I went to their opening without knowing the owners. I knew a teacher there that was going to be on their teaching team. And I met the owners, Leela and Lily. They ran it for 15 years. When I came back from yoga teacher training, they gave me an opportunity to teach, which is rare for a new teacher to begin to teach at a studio right away.
Yeah, it is.
So it was my first studio I ever taught at back in 2012, the same year I got trained. And, fast forward 15 years, Leela had become one of my dearest friends. And when she was ready to either close the studio, the 15-year lease was done. COVID had highly, it impacted all yoga studios. A lot of studios closed their doors. Attendance was low. Financially, a lot of studios struggled. And we had a landlord that was kind enough to lower the rent during COVID. So it did survive COVID. And she said, I don't live in San Francisco anymore. I have 2 children. You're the person that I want to pass this business on to. Would you consider taking it on? And I sat with it for a solid 6 months. I partnered with another co-owner in San Francisco of a studio that did close called The Mindful Body.
Yep.
And the owners there were parents of a student in my daughter's first grade school at San Francisco Waldorf. And they were just such a natural fit. They're wonderful people, awesome business partners. And I said, with the right partner, yes, I will happily take on a lease in San Francisco and run a small business at a time where small businesses are struggling, because I so believe in community centers and continued education and places where people can gather and learn and connect in person. That was taken away from us, the in-person connection. So
yes, and people so crave that now. I'm so happy, just personally, professionally, that we're able to get back out into the world and connect with people. People really, really need that connection. So that's amazing that you're doing that. So let's talk a little bit about, there's the physical practice of yoga, but I think one of the things that you do really well is go beyond the physical. There's the mindfulness, there's the meditation, there's the breathing. It is not a, get in and just work the body as hard as you can and get a sweat on. And certainly there are those types of yoga studios out there. But talk to me a little bit about maybe what someone could expect coming to one of your classes. Because you're not just the owner, you're still also a teacher.
Yeah. So I work with the premise that we work through the body or with the body to not only benefit the body, right? If our body is suffering, we can't be of benefit and service at all, or we struggle to be of benefit and service. But we work through the body to positively impact the mind, right? When we stand up a little bit taller, that's the line of energy that connects us to the divine or source wisdom, or even the part of us that is confident, that has big picture thinking, bigger perspective, widening our aperture. When we open across the chest, that's dopamine, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, right? We can stay open to life. When we breathe into our physical center, and these are all things that I just weave into every class, we feel our connection to the oneness of it all, to the moment, to the power of what is to be connected to our innate body wisdom. And the practices of yoga, they're so intelligent, they're so dynamic, and I think that just doing the shapes of yoga, the asanas, they work through us. It's kind of sneaky, it's kind of tricky. You do this thing for your body, and all of a sudden you are more open, more present, more courageous. Your heart is more open. You see more clearly. So, and then there's that soul connection that maybe you just get a glimpse of, like, am I living an aligned life? Like, what is my highest purpose?
What is an aligned? Do you think an aligned? What is an aligned life to you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a little different for everyone. What does that mean to you?
I mean, one of the ways my teacher describes it is that we all are here to both live, not attached, not gripping. Things need to be a certain way, but also on the most masterful and skillful path. So refining where we place our attention, our thoughts. They say that science tells us that 99% of the thoughts we had today are the same thoughts we had yesterday. Oh my gosh. And majority of them.
How do you break that pattern? How do you create new thoughts? How do you let that go?
Yeah, I mean, that's what
meditation
mantra is, meditation is, I mean, in meditation, one of the cues is to make friends with all that arises. So every thought that crosses your mental screen, you don't push it away, you don't judge it.
I love that. I just want to repeat that. Make friends.
Make friends with what arises.
With what arises.
Mm-hmm. But through storytelling or through, through positive thinking, through working with a teacher, then you wrap your mind around something sattvic, pure, positive, something that feels uplifting. So it's a mind training, really. That's what mantra means, training the mind.
One of the women that I follow, her name is Suzanne Giesemann. She has a fascinating story. She's kind of one of my personal heroes. She was in the Navy for a very long time and was on the last flight with the president on 9/11, and then got out of the Navy, and things happened, and she has become an evidential-based medium. And her work is remarkable. And she's a huge proponent of meditation. That's how she was able to realize that she had these gifts. Her husband was also in the military too. So, very interesting backgrounds that came to this line of work. And she says, when thoughts come up, you almost observe them from a third party perspective of whatever those thoughts are. Like we were talking about the negative thoughts, and you say, oh, isn't that interesting? Instead of having like a reaction to them, like you just look at it from, oh, isn't that interesting? I keep thinking about blah, 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 blah. So that's one of the things I try and do. But it's a practice. It's yoga practice, not yoga perfect. This is another thing that I always say.
Yes.
So how often are you meditating on a daily basis? And I also this is like a really popular question with, celebrities, people in wellness. Like, I really kind of also want to know, because I really admire like your wellness. Tell us, like, and also the viewers and the listeners, what's your morning routine? So I just kind of asked you two questions.
You're going to just love this very honest answer. I meditated very regularly before I had my daughter. She's 7.5.
Okay.
And now, after many years of meditating, my meditation is washing the dishes, walking, making food, doing the laundry.
Thank you for saying that, because I think I'm part of this women's business networking group, and one of the women is just like, oh yeah, I got to meditate. Like it's this thing that you have to do and check off the list. And I do think that we think that like you have to sit in a quiet spot with no one around you, and you have to sit there for a half an hour and have no disturbances, etc. And that is meditating. So I think what you just said is like, no, meditating could be washing the dishes.
One of my great teachers that I grew up with, it was my parents' teacher, Prem Rawat, and it's the same teacher of my yoga teacher, Janet Stone. And Prem Rawat says, you should be able to meditate when you're in the front row of a rock concert.
Tell me about that. Like how do you get to that headspace? I have sensory overload. So at, 5 o'clock, I used to turn to alcohol as a way to decompress. I stopped drinking 4.5 years ago. No regrets. Feel fantastic. The feeling of not having a hangover is incredible. Yeah. But there's that witching hour, with kids. I have 2 dogs now. I'm usually, making dinner. The kids are just crazy. I have a boy and a girl. The boy is just full on. The girl is responding to the boy's energy, and then the fan is on while I'm cooking, and then the sounds of the cooking and the dogs and the kids, they all come together in this like cacophony of terror, and it's very stressful for me. So like I would love a strategy of like, where do I go in my head to just tune all of that out? Is
So
it like is it a
that
breathing?
That's exactly, where do you go in your head? You don't go into your head. You drop this feeling. We think we are here. We associate with this is where I am, right here. You drop your awareness below your navel, about a handprint below your belly button. That's your physical center. So if you were to take your hand and place your thumb maybe around or even inside your belly button, we all have different relationships with our navel. And wherever your baby finger lands, your pinky finger,
So
halfway between your hips and your front body and your back body, that's your physical center of gravity. And so my practice is dropping my awareness down to my physical center, breathing into my belly. You can also take the tip of the tongue and rest it at the back of the two front teeth. When our tongue is rested in our mouth, when our tongue is still, that calms the thinking mind. There's a connection between our tongue and our brain.
Yeah, it's resting. It's not engaged.
It's resting.
Not protruding. It's resting.
It's not efforting.
It's not
right?
efforting.
We effortless flow. Not efforting, not gripping, not needing things to be different. Softening into, porous in the moment, one with all the movement all around you, but knowing where your physical center is.
So just being a part of that symphony of chaos. Finding my place in the tornado, in the center of, I need to be at the center of, they say that the quietest place, in a tornado is like at the center of the storm.
Exactly.
So it's supposed to be very quiet there. I like that. I'm going to use that. Okay, anybody who's got wild kids at home, just remember, you are the center of your family's tornado.
And the point isn't to always live there in the still point. It's to, right? We hang out
to go
sometimes
in and out.
to be able to, but gracefully.
Okay.
Return
on your
to
terms.
center.
Okay.
And regularly, and it's a practice. And be easy about when you get thrown off center, almost like you're like delighted at, I get to come back to center. It's fascinating. It's a joy. I'm human. I'm going to come off center and then I'm going to come back to center.
Like slipping into a warm bath at the end of the day.
Sure, but do it 100 times a day and then call me and tell me how it works.
Okay, well, I love it. I feel like I just got like I feel better. I do.
It's not something you think about. It's where you place your awareness.
Okay. I like that a lot. So you told me something interesting. There are how many yoga studios in California?
Well, if you look at Google and you trust Google, it's 6,000 in California. How many of those have closed during COVID? Who knows? But thousands of yoga studios.
Yeah. I wonder how many are in LA. And where I'm going with this is like, let's say I'm younger. I think you and I are, huge proponents of helping other women.
Yes.
Especially younger women, helping them find their place in this world, especially post-pandemic, for people that have recently graduated and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Pretend right now that you're talking to someone that says, I want to be a yoga teacher. How do you guide them? What do you tell them? Maybe you have people come into the pad and say, hey, I'm thinking about, and when you do teacher training, so what do you tell those people?
To have a living teacher, one you can be in relationship with.
Mentorship, huge.
Mentorship, we offer that at the pad, one-on-one mentorship after the training. To have a regular practice of your own where you intuitively sequence based on what you start to find makes most sense in your body. After you've learned some very intelligent baseline structural things, after you understand the basic anatomy of why we do sun salutations, how you do a half lift, why you place your knee over your ankle, have that anatomical understanding,
right,
and then tweak it, play with it, adventure, but stay connected to your intuitive body to guide you, and spend a lot of time knowing why you sequence the way you sequence.
Mm-hmm. And also, to your point of you have to have that direct experience to be able to share with other people. Sidebar, I had a birthing class, and like halfway through the class, the woman said, well, I've actually never had children. And my husband were like, what?
Yeah.
She didn't have that direct experience. So there was like, I don't know, I found it very interesting.
Interesting. There's a lot of interesting.
Found it interesting. Yeah. But having that, you know, having someone go through something, and to your point, that direct experience, I think is paramount. So how about just the actual like mechanics? Like, how does a yoga... I have a girlfriend who's a very successful yoga instructor in Chicago, and I know that it's challenging for her. So what other advice do you have in terms of getting a permanent spot? Like, do you focus on one studio? Do you teach at multiple studios? Do you recommend that they have a business plan? There's so much like online. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I would recommend definitely having some form of a coach, business coach. It's kind of similar to the benefit of having a therapist, someone that tunes into you, your why, sees you clearly, isn't your mother or your boyfriend or your student or anyone that's biased, has your highest and best interest in mind. And that doesn't always have to be a paid relationship necessarily, but someone that can reflect back to you very clearly what they see you offering. And then you can clearly describe that on your website, in all your content, in your, if you use social media. But again, that living teacher, if they're a professional yoga teacher and they make a living teaching yoga, they'll also...
A living teacher, what does that mean?
So for instance, Patabi Joyce, the founder of Ashtanga, is Iyengar. I've learned a lot from Ashtanga and Iyengar, but they're not alive in human form anymore. Oh, you mean
actually living. Oh, I understand.
I mean someone that is living, that
We're not very quick on this podcast, Nicole.
That you
got to slow down over here.
With, right? I mean, you could study just, for instance, if I started Ashtanga, but Patabi Joyce isn't around, find somebody that studied with Patabi Joyce.
I understand. I thought you meant someone that was like living, like that they were actually still practicing or teaching. But I guess that is your point as well, that they need to be active and successful on their own rights. I mean, certainly you would want a mentor that was successful,
that had figured out their own way. Yeah.
And you feel like it is sort of a requirement, like if you would accept someone. And why I'm kind of going down this is just, you know, there are people that are listening that, you know, that are going to see you and they're going to say, I want to be a yoga teacher. How do I do it? So I want to make sure that we're speaking to that and the women that are interested. Do you feel that it is a requirement? And I actually got my 200 hours when I was living in LA. I thought that was something that I wanted to do. Is that a requirement for you when you're looking to hire new teachers, that they are Yoga Alliance certified, either the 200-hour or the 500-hour program?
Definitely the 200-hour, and that at least show great interest to move toward their second, which is just the 300-hour.
Oh, okay.
And is being mentored. And is studying and practicing with other teachers, and is reading interested in learning some of the texts, the Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita. That they want to immerse themselves in the continued education of all the many facets of yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga.
I want to link those in our description too, so that people can look those up and find those on Amazon or wherever.
The books.
Local bookstore. Yeah.
We have a 200-hour teacher training at the Pad that is a really fantastic training.
Do you have one coming up?
We do. It starts the end of August.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's over 6 long weekends. And it starts in person at this beautiful retreat to the farm. We all spend on a 100-acre farm, 90 minutes from San Francisco. We spend a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we meet in our studio the other weekends.
Sounds so fun. Maybe I'll do it again.
Some of the workshops in the training are open to the public, like my Leadership Embodiment portion of our 200-hour teacher training we open to the public.
Let's talk about that. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because you are a leadership coach. Like, tell us what that offering is. Yeah.
So the same year I did my 200-hour teacher training, I also completed a 7-month somatics of leadership training as well. So somatics means relating to or of the body. So let's just call it leadership embodiment. And it's a blend of Aikido, mindfulness, Buddhism, and some of the principles of coaching, linguistics, ontology, which is the study of the way of being of humans, how humans show up, their way of being. So it's this integration of all these different modalities.
Okay, I want to do this. Like,
and it's a way of using the body. Well, can we do one thing together?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, so on your next inhale, as you breathe in, take the length up through the center of the spine, up through the crown of the head. Get a little bit taller as you breathe in. And as you exhale, soften down, feel a warmth around your heart. Extend your arms out wide like you have light shooting through the tips of your fingers. Good, we're going to do that one more time. So as you inhale next, you can soften your hands. Inhale up the length of your spine like a spiral of light shooting out through the crown of the head. Exhale, feel a softness and a warmth down around your human heart. Extend your arms out wide through the fingers as though you have light shooting out through the tips of your fingers. Good, so that's just an easy intro into finding your full length, your full width, and that brings in the hormone testosterone, which brings confidence. That oxytocin and serotonin is around the heart. Yeah. And when we do this in life, we do this a lot. We curl in and down, right? Even this, in and down on our computers. We send the message to our body when our ribs are in, when the muscles in between our ribs shorten, when our head is forward, we say there's something to be scared or stressed or fearful of. This is what we used to do when we were on the savannah and there was tigers and lions.
Very primal.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you extend out, when the flexor muscles, this is flexor muscles, when the extension comes out through the arms, that says big picture thinking, safety, my needs are met, freedom, expansion, widening your aperture. So we work through the body to change the mind. We don't change up here. We work through the body to change the mind.
I am hearing that message in my life more and more and more. That the body is the thing that is here to experience this dimension. And everything goes through the body. And I'm glad I am receiving that message. You're enforcing that message. And I think it's an important one that I'm still learning about. And I hope that it spreads. So your voice is so calm. I feel so relaxed. I feel like you should create an app, because I could listen to you every morning and we could do that together.
Okay. I started recording audio content for a company called Move With, and then, they went under. And then I recorded content for some companies that I taught corporate yoga for, and they wanted recorded. So you get the back end, the technology. My voice will show up. I just don't want to do any of the back end.
I hear you. Yeah,
technology.
You're the talent. You are the talent. I think we need to make that happen. So we skipped over your morning routine, and I just, as a mom, and there's going to be some moms that are listening and watching this, and you have a young daughter. Tell me about, because you truly are one of like the most Zen people I know, and the way that you're showing up now, I know you in real life. You show up that way, and you have like such a like consistency because you're so calm, and you like that calmness carries throughout the day for you. So just walk me through the morning. Like, are you getting frazzled, getting out the door, breakfast, the lunch? Like, tell me about that.
Don't put me on a pedestal. I have my moments, but I will say that the morning routine starts the night before.
That's what Mel Robbins says. She had a really hard time always hitting the snooze button. Her kids were always late to school. And that is like, like the messages.
So
you keep getting them over and over. So
you keep getting them. It starts. So I say to my daughter, you're going to wake up on time. The morning's going to be easy. You're going to eat your breakfast. It's going to be great. I'm going to make your lunch and your snacks, and I'm going to put electrolytes in your water, and you're going to get dressed and do your own hair, and you're going to enter the school when I drop you off with joy. You're going to get right out of the car, be so happy to see your teachers and your friends. We kind of walk through it.
The night before.
The night before.
Are you physically making the lunches and everything the night before and laying out, having her, because she's 7, laying out her clothes?
Yeah, most nights, but not every single night. The getting dressed thing is not a problem. But yes, I put out all the snack things and the thing I wrap the sandwich in, and it's all laid out the night before. The backpack is right next to where I need to put everything in.
Yeah. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to do that today for tomorrow.
It all happens the night before.
Yeah, setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, and I know generally what's on my calendar the whole day before. I'm not waking up wondering how I'm going to spend my morning and my afternoon and my night. I pretty much know what the whole week looks like. That's
amazing. I, as a real estate agent, our job, when there is such limited inventory on, and if you have, a large buyer roster, which I do right now, I find the work extremely reactive because a property comes up onto MLS or a colleague shares something with you, and then you have to have a strong reaction. So for me, that is I love what I do, but that's one of the challenges, is the not being able, the constant flexibility and not being able to have a very structured work life.
Can we use the word resourceful?
Okay, and tell me about that.
That you're highly resourceful. Okay. And you're so present, and your resources are big, you're expansive, you have a huge capacity to pull from. So you can, rather than reactivity, it's resourcefulness.
I love you.
Start to think about yourself that way. I'm highly resourceful. I have what I need.
I'm highly resourceful. Okay, I love that.
And that's the body connect. If your breath is in your belly, you can drop your awareness. You can even imagine I'm dropping my brain down into my belly. I take a breath into my belly. My whole wisdom body turns on.
Okay.
My intuition is just ready to go. And then anytime, in present moment, you have what you need.
I like that. And language is important. Reactive is not a great word. Resourceful is a more positive word. So thank you. I feel
word choice, linguistics.
Yeah.
It was part of my 7-month, the Art of Leadership Mastery training. Because we live in a world of language, right? If we live in a world of language and we've only heard the color red, we may be seeing fuchsia and magenta and scarlet and rose and call it all red.
Yeah.
But the moment we know there's fuchsia and magenta and rose and scarlet, we start to see it.
The subtleties.
The subtleties, the nuances, that's the beauty of life.
Wow. This has been such an amazing conversation. I'd love to have you back another time. Thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me today. For more info, you can always find us at yin-project.com. Make it a great day.